Here is an example of homework B.2, basic voting methods. As with all the homeworks, make sure you're ready to complete it as soon as you start it. You got an hour to get it done. No partial credit for incorrect answers. Make sure you review your graded work as soon as you finish it, and let me know if you have questions. Number one, in a survey about an upcoming election, 36% of the voters support Oscar, while 45% say they'll vote for Peter. And the margin of error for the survey is plus or minus 4.4%. According to the survey, who is leading? Now, in order to be able to use this survey to determine who is leading, we need to check to see if there is or is not a statistical tie. So we start by finding the support bands for Oscar. So he is 36 minus 4.4% up to 36 plus 4.4%. So 36 minus 4 would be 32. Take away the additional 0.4. So this is 31.6% for the lower bound. 36 plus 4 is 40. Add the 0.4. So this is 40.4% for the upper bound. Likewise for Peter. The lower bound is 45 minus 4.4% up to 45 plus 4.4%. 45 minus 4 would be 41. Take away an additional 0.4, so this is 40.6% for the lower bound. And the upper bound likewise is going to be 45 plus 4 is 49. Add another 0.4, so this is 49.4% for the upper bound. Now we have to determine if these two bands overlap. We look at the upper bound for Oscar and the lower bound for Peter. And we see that they do not overlap. Okay, so that means the support bands do not overlap. Okay, so we can use this poll, and specifically since his percentage is higher, Peter is leading. Number two, in an election with 1,384 voters, how many votes represent a majority? If we took the number of voters and divided it by 2, 1384 divided by 2 is 692. So 1384 divided by 2. Let me put that note in here. So 1384 divided by 2 is 692. That's 692 exactly. So that means, to avoid a 692 to 692 tie, that means 693 is the majority. So in our box, put 693. It's the first whole number over half. Number 3, Bob, Alice, and Carol are running for the town's Board of Education. The winner is a majority. So the first thing we have to do is determine where the majority lies. So there are a total of 28 plus 12 plus 32. 28 and 12 is 40, and 32 is 72 voters. 72 divided by 2 is 36, right? And then to avoid the 36 to 36 tie, that means 37 is the majority. And in this case here, since no one has 37, okay, there is no winner. So since there's no winner, this is going to have to go to a runoff, but the initial stage, there is no winner. In a survey of 323 students, 77% say they intended to vote for Joe. What is the margin of error? When we do the margin of error, we do not need this percentage here that is used when we do the support bands. So in this case, the margin of error is going to be plus or minus 1 divided by the square root of 323. So grab your calculator, do 1 divided by the square root of 323. This is equal to, plus or minus 0.0556, and this keeps going. And this is the decimal. So we need to change that to a percent by moving the decimal point 2 spots. So that means our margin of error is equal to plus or minus 5.56%. And then the instructions say to round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So that 5 right after the decimal is in the 10th spot. The 6 tells us to round up. So this will go to 5.6%. So plus or minus 5.6%. And then we follow the directions. Do not include a percent sign or the plus minus symbol in the response. So in our box here, we just put 5.6. In an election with 423 voters, how many votes represents a majority? (423) divided by 2. If you have to, grab your calculator. Not a big problem with that. 423 divided by 2 is 211.5. Okay. Since this is a decimal, we can't split votes, so we can't have a 211.5 tie. So that means 212, the first whole number over half, is a majority. So in our box, 212. Number 6 is done pretty much the exact same way. 74,689 divided by 2. So 74,689 divided by 2 on our calculator is 37,344 and a half. So 37,344.5. We can't have half a vote. So the first whole number over half is going to be 37,345 is a majority. So when we put the number in our box here, if we put in 37,345, Canvas will immediately go in and stick a comma in our answer as soon as we click off it. In a survey of 326 college students, 69% support ballot question number 3 in the coming election. What is the lower bound? Okay, so we're looking for the lower bound. So that is going to be the margin, the 69% we need at this time, minus the margin of error. So our lower bound is going to be the 69% minus the margin of error. So in this case, our margin of error is going to be plus or minus 1 divided by the square root of 326. Grab our calculator. 1 divided by the square root of 326 is going to give us 5.5%. So actually, this is 0.05538. This keeps going. So that's going to be 5.5% when we round to the 10th. Right? So we got to remember to round to the nearest 10th of a percent. So that means our lower bound is 69 minus 5.5%. So 69 minus 5 is 64. Take away an additional 0.5, so this will be 63.5%. In our box, don't include a percent symbol, so we just type in here 63.5. Glenn, Hyla, Irene, and Janet are running for the HOA board. The winner is a plurality. Very important, not a majority, a plurality. Plurality just means who got the most votes. So plurality means the most votes. But they're not ranked, so these are all first place votes. In this case here, the plurality belongs to Janet. We don't need to find a majority in this case, it's just a plurality. Number 9, in a survey of a mayoral election, 41% support Ken, 48% will vote for Mike. Margin of error is plus or minus 5.5%. Who is leading the election? So we need to determine if or is not a statistical tie. So in this case, Ken's support band here is going to be 41 minus 5.5% up to 41 plus 5.5%. So 41 minus 5.5% is 35.5%. And the upper bound is 46.5%. For Mike, his lower band is 48 minus 5.5% up to 48 plus 5.5%. So 48 minus 5.5% is 42.5. 48 plus 5.5 is 53.5. When we look at the support bands, we see this upper bound for Ken is greater than the lower bound for Mike. So our support plans overlap. That means this is a statistical tie. Since it's a statistical tie, we cannot use this survey to determine who is winning. Number 10. In a survey of 294 voters, 39% said they will support the ballot question. What is the upper bound? So we did one a minute ago that was the lower bound. So the upper bound here is going to be 39% plus the margin of error. Our margin of error in this case is plus or minus 1 over the square root of 294. Grab your calculator, do 1 divided by the square root of 294. That gives you a decimal of 0.0583. And this keeps going. When we change that to a percent, this is going to be 5.8% when we round to the 10th of a percent. Right? Pay attention to the instructions. So in this case here, our upper bound for the support band is 39 plus 5.8%, which is 44.8%. That's it. As soon as you turn this in, it'll get graded. Make sure you review your graded work. If you got some wrong, see if you can sort out why you got them incorrect. If you have questions, contact me as soon as possible.